What is up YouTube, it's Zach from Banging Tech Reviews, and today I'm going to be reviewing the iPod Touch 5th generation. I have opted for the blue colour, electric blue, because I thought it looked pretty nice, and it's in 32GB. The only downside is iPod are not available in 16GB anymore, which is quite, unfair, because that means you do have to pay a slightly higher premium. However, a new 16GB is going to be coming out soon, but it does not include a camera. Okay guys, so let's start off with the product tour. On the left we have a volume button, so no mute button anymore I'm afraid. Right hand side we have nothing at all, totally flush. On the top we have the power on button and lock button and unlock. And then at the bottom we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, speaker and the lightning port. At the front of the iPod we have the 4-inch Retina display with a resolution of 1136 by 640, which gives you a PPI of 326. At the front we have the FaceTime camera that can record up to 720p and the home button. On the back you're going to see the button where the wrist strap is connected, so if you are gifting this to kids or buying it for a kid, they won't damage the new iPod. We have the iPod logo along with the Wi-Fi antenna, the LED flash, microphone and the 5-megapixel camera that records at 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is quite good. Okay, usually on the screen front, iPod and iPhone have been slightly different compared to 4G and iPhone 4S, etc. However, on the iPod Touch 5G, the screen is almost identical to the iPhone 5. The iPhone 5 is slightly better, I would admit, but it's almost identical. So as you can see, I just took pictures simultaneously, and the phone takes it without any problem or any lag at all. It's really fast. You can open up different applications, close them. Everything seems to be working almost as good as the iPhone 5 thanks to that A5 processor. And you got Siri on this one as well. Siri is fun as always. Sometimes, it's good. I don't use voice services that much, but Siri is probably... I'm an Android user personally, but I have to admit that Siri is the best one around. Just the way they programmed it and how it reacts to your response. Okay, so now I'm going to run Linpack, which is basically a benchmarking scoring for your Apple device. I couldn't get a Geekbench 2, I'm afraid, so I'm using Linpack. Just to let you know that this iPod does have the Apple A5 processor, which is based on the ARM Cortex-A9 architecture, and it has 512 MB of RAM, which is more than double than the predecessor. So as you can see, we've got a max of 126.77 and an average of 122.90, which are decent compared to the previous generation iPods. Okay, now I'm going to use Ookla speed test to see how fast the Wi-Fi is on the iPod Touch. Now it does have a black ribbon at the back, which does increase the Wi-Fi range. So I don't have the best connection in the world. I get 20 MB downloads and 1 MB upload. However, due to the area I live, that is limited to about 13-14. I know it's bad, and that's one bad thing living in the UK. Okay, so basically I'm doing an upload test now, and as you can see, it's kind of hovering over the 90 to 1 MB mark. I used this speed test on my old iPod, and believe me, I got much lower results. So let's quickly see what did I get. So I got ping of 27 millisecond, download of 10.87 megabits per second, and upload is at just under 1 MB, which is really good and more than what I expected. Now moving on to the gaming department, this iPod is a beast at playing games. It is powered by a GPU called PowerVR, which are made by Imagination Technology. It has an ARM Cortex-A9 Apple A5 processor. Each clock is at 800 MHz and 512 MB of RAM. Now with those specs, high-end games like Real Racing 3 and Fast and Furious 1 with no problem at all. I played both of them, and what can I say guys, it is absolutely fantastic. Battery is really good, also measuring at 930 milliamp hours, and you can get about a day's use if you use it moderately with some light gaming. Okay, so moving on to the camera, it has a 5-megapixel iSight camera with autofocus, and you can tap area for video focusing or stills images. It also has a hybrid IR filter, LED flash, a 2.4 aperture and face detection. The good thing about this iPod also, it has panorama and HDR video recording. So that means when you're recording low light conditions, it's not going to be as dark as normal phones or iPod or other multimedia devices. And you can also record at 1080p at 30 frames per second, which is really good, if you want to record your mates or if you're going on holiday, etc. And it has a FaceTime HD camera with 1.2 megapixel photos, and you can record videos up to 720p. Although the iPod Touch 5th generation has really impressed me, there's one thing I really hate about the new design. which is the camera protrudes by a couple of millimeters, and that's really annoying because you can scratch it or damage your lens. So which means, you know, if you're using it on the table, it's gonna have a little bit of wobble. The only way to protect it is by buying a case, which means you paying extra money. Apart from that, it's really good. There isn't much flaw with it, to be honest, in my personal opinion anyway, and I really like the device. Okay, now going at the back of the iPod, do you remember that little wrist strap I was talking about? Really easy to put on. You just press the button and it raises by a couple of millimeters, and then you attach your wrist strap. Now, I thought this wasn't going to work personally at first. I thought, you know, it's going to easily come out, but as a demonstration, you can see now I'm actually swinging it about like mad. And if this was a kid playing sports or anything like that, it's not going to go anywhere. Believe me, I did test it a bit more as well, but that wasn't recorded. Alright guys, so that was the end of the review of the new iPod Touch 5th generation. I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any questions, then leave them in the comment section below. Also leave a like if you thought the content was good. And as always guys, if you want to see more videos, then hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.